Hello students, and how are you all doing? Welcome back to another episode of Physical Education and Health class for senior high school students. I know you are all excited to continue our lesson and to participate in our activities. Yes, you heard it right. We are going to have activities for you today, my senior high school learners. I am Teacher Mike and welcome to our subject, Health Optimizing Physical Education. Before we begin, let us enumerate the things you are expected to learn after this episode. You will be able to characterize sports-related injury, differentiate acute from chronic injuries, identify ways to prevent sport-related injuries, and determine the safety protocols during MVPA participation. Last week, we identified the components of the skill-related fitness through performance. These are agility, speed, balance, power, coordination, reaction time. We also did some activities like weave through chairs, balance as 3 levels, catch the ball, tap me please, the sprints like ball, the running to the side, the jump up to the top, and catch me, I'm falling. These are activities you may use to enhance your skill-related fitness level to avoid injuries. Have you experienced any of the incident reflected in the pictures? When did you experience it? Where did it happen? How did it happen? What do you call these circumstances? Looking at those pictures, I'm sure that you have realized the importance of strengthening your skill-related fitness level. Now let's talk about sports injuries. Sports injuries may occur when a person engages into moderate to vigorous physical activity or MVPA. This includes physical activities that span from moderate progressing to vigorous intensity. Brisk walking, cycling, and jogging are examples of moderate activities, while aerobic dance or cycling uphill are vigorous activities. On the other hand, sports injuries happen when you are playing sports or performing exercises. These are caused by poor training practices or wearing improper gear. Some people also get injured when they are not in proper condition. No proper warm-up and stretching before you play or exercise can also lead to injuries. The most common sports injuries are sprain, contusion or bruise, concussion, dislocation, fracture, and strains. Let's start with the sprain. Sprain is a tear of ligament fibers, muscles, or tendons supporting a joint. This can occur when a joint is extended beyond its normal range of movement. A sprain may involve a small number of fibers through a complete rupture. In extreme circumstances, the ligament, muscle, or tendon fibers may remain intact and ripped from the bone. The second one is contusion or bruise. It is bleeding into the soft tissue which is caused by a direct blow from another person or an object. A bruise can occur to any soft tissue of the body. We also have concussion. This is caused by a direct blow to the head. Depending on the severity of the concussion, injury can cause varying levels of impairment of brain function. Concussions are categorized as mild or grade 1, moderate or grade 2, or severe or grade 3 depending on the symptoms. Next, we have dislocation. This occurs when a joint ball is forced off its socket, for example, arm forced out of the shoulder joint. Just remember that if a dislocation happens, it must be reset by proper medical professionals. Fracture is a break, crack, or shattering of a bone. In closed fractures, the broken bone does not pierce the skin, while in the open fractures, the broken bones break the skin's surface. Strains are injuries that involve the stretching, partial tearing, or complete tearing of a tendon. Strains are categorized as a first, second, or third degree. Chronic strains are injuries that gradually build up from overuse or repetitive stress. After enumerating the common sports injuries, let us now move on and determine the kind of injury where they belong to. There are two kinds of injuries, acute and chronic injury. Acute injuries occur suddenly when playing or exercising. Sprained ankles, strained backs, and fractured hands are acute injuries. Signs of an acute injury include sudden, severe pain, swelling, not being able to place weight on a leg, knee, ankle, or foot, an arm, elbow, wrist, hand, or finger that is very tender, not being able to move a joint as normal, extreme leg or arm weakness, a bone or joint that is visibly out of place. The second one is chronic injuries. It happens after you play a sport or exercise for a long time. The signs of a chronic injury include pain when you play, pain when you exercise, a dull ache when you rest, and even swelling. Exercise is good for the body, and with proper precautions, sports injuries may be prevented. The quality of protective equipment like padding, helmet, shoes, and mouth guards may contribute to sports safety, but you can still be susceptible to injury in certain situations. Some causes of sports injuries may include improper or poor training practices, wearing improper sporting gear, being in a poor health condition, improper warm-up or stretching practices before a sporting event or exercise. So how can I prevent a sports injury? Developing a fitness plan that includes cardiovascular exercise, strength training, and flexibility may help decrease your chance of injury. Alternate exercising for different muscle groups should be done every other day. Cool down properly after exercise or sports. It should take 2 times as long as your warm-up. Stay hydrated. Drink water to prevent dehydration, heat exhaustion, and heat stroke. Stretching exercises can improve the ability of muscles to contract and perform, reducing the risk of injury. Each stretch should start slowly until you reach a point of muscle tension. Stretching should not be painful. Aim to hold each stretch for about 20 seconds. Use the right equipment or gear and wear shoes that provide support, and that may correct certain foot problems that can lead to injury. Learn the right techniques to play your sports. Rest when tired. Avoid exercise when you are tired or in pain. Always take your time during strength training and go through the full range of motion with each repetition. If you do sustain a sports injury, make sure you participate in adequate rehabilitation before resuming strenuous activity. There are so many ways to prevent sports injuries, but always remember, prevention is better than cure. But what if I got injured, like sprain? What must I do? In treating any injuries like sprain or strain, one of the most popular home remedies is RICE, or R-I-C-E, which stands for R for rest, I for ice, C for compression, and E for elevation. The benefits of the RICE method can be explained by stages. Rest. Immobilization prevents further injury and gives the body time to recover. Ice. Cold reduces pain by numbing the affected area. Compression. Pressure keeps swelling under control. Elevation. Keeping the injured body part above the heart reduces the swelling and the associated pain and discomfort. A Aside from the injury prevention techniques we have discussed, we also need to consider some personal safety protocols before and after playing a sport or doing moderate to vigorous physical activities. You must also drink a lot of water to avoid dehydration. Practice proper hygiene through changing clothes if necessary, and to know your limits not to overwork your body. Remember this, when the body does not have enough fluid needed to function normally, it is dehydrated. This happens when the lost body fluid is not replaced. Dehydration causes a person to have a dry, thirsty mouth, become fatigued, have less urine yield with dark color, and in severe cases, unconsciousness. The usual causes of dehydration are hot weather conditions, too much sweat, high fever, diarrhea, vomiting, and excessive exercise without taking any fluid. To nurse dehydration, the body will need to replenish lost fluids and electrolytes. Drink at least 8 glasses of water a day and up to 12 glasses during summer months. There are terminologies that you might experience if you opt to observe personal safety protocols during moderate to vigorous physical activities or MVPA. First, we have dehydration. Dehydration happens when the fluid in your body is used or lost more than the fluid you drink or intake. If your body does not have enough water or fluid to do its normal functions, you will get dehydrated. Anyone may become dehydrated. As to the people who are more at risk, young ones or children, and the older adults are also more at risk. Next is overexertion. This refers to the pressure one puts in himself or herself. Too much pressure may lead to a simple discomfort that might extend to a more severe injury. Next, we have hypothermia. It usually happens when the body quickly loses temperature. A body suffers hypothermia when his or her body temperature drops below 35 degrees Celsius. Lastly, we have hypothermia. The opposite of hypothermia, this happens when body temperature rises beyond the normal temperature, which is 37 degrees Celsius. Both hypothermia and hypothermia are considered life-threatening. Did you hear that? Whoops! Yes, it's time for a multi-home choice activity. To evaluate how much you've learned from this lesson, please have your pen and paper handy and choose the correct answer from the choices. I will give you 3 seconds to answer our multi-home choice items. Are you ready? Let's start. Number 1. Which refers to the injuries that happen when playing sports or exercising? Is it A, accident, B, dislocation, C, hydration, or D, sports injuries? The correct answer is letter D, sports injuries. Number 2. What happens to the body if it does not have enough fluid needed to function normally? Is it A, dehydrated, B, dislocated, C, hydrated, or D, stress management? The correct answer is letter A, dehydrated. Next, we have number 3, which is not a sign of chronic injuries. A, bone and joint that is visibly out of place and hydration. B, dull ache when you rest. C, pain when you exercise. Or D, pain when you play. The correct answer is letter A, bone and joint that is visibly out of place and hydration. Number 4. Which of the following injuries is a tear of ligament fibers, muscles, or tendons supporting a joint? A, bruise, B, dislocation, C, sprain, or D, strain? The correct answer is letter C, sprain. And lastly, number 5. Which of the following stands for RICE treatment? A. Rest, ibuprofen, crutches, exercise. B. Rest, ice, compression, elevation. C. Rest, ice, crutches, elevation. Or D. Reinforcement, immobilization, cryotherapy, electrostimulation. The correct answer is B. Rest, ice, compression, elevation. I'm sure you all got a very high score from our multi-hope activity. But it's not over yet because it's time for another activity, and that is Hopetivity! Even though we have limitations in engaging with our favorite sports, we can still list some common injuries that teenagers like you may be at risk of playing the following sports. So grab your pen and paper again, and I will give you 15 seconds to write down at least 2 common injuries for each sport. Are you now ready? Your 15 seconds starts now. Time's up! If your answer or answers are not on the screen, it doesn't mean you are not correct. There are plenty of injuries and we only got the most common. For basketball, we have ankle sprains, thigh bruising, and knee injuries. What we have for volleyball, we have dislocation of fingers, ankle sprains, injuries as well, like in basketball. In track and field, hamstring strain and spine fracture. Badminton, we have thrower shoulder injury and knee injury. Last, we have combative sports, concussions, hamstring strain. Students, it is good to know that you are aware of the common injuries in sports. Just remember that these injuries may happen not only in sports, but in our daily activities, so just always be careful. Well, that's all the time that we have. I hope you have learned and enjoyed our lesson and activities today. Always remember, according from the mind of the athlete, don't let an injury be the determining factor of who you are and who you are known to be. Instead, try to use it as an earning experience so you will be better off when you return. Once again, I'm Teacher Mike. Thank you for watching DepEd TV. I'll see you next time.